That's what I would do. I'd be drinking in a field party. Getting alcohol poisoning in a field party.
For sure. That's wild. So for those of you tuning in, this is the Wolfcat Fire for Effect podcast, brought to you by Mark Shelton. I'm joined by Juan Martinez, a fellow student veteran here at Radford University. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Juan.
Hey guys, my name is Juan. I'm 28 years old. I'm a veteran, like Mark said. I did 5 years in the United States Marine Corps. I joined right out of high school. Married. I got 2 kids. At my final semester here at Radford, thank God. I'm sick of going. I'm just done. I just want to be done. That's all. I'm just ready to be done. I'm just ready to be done, man.
Heard that. So today we're doing a podcast. We're just kind of bullshitting, kind of just talking and trying to get comfortable with this. This is my first podcast, jumping back on after about 6 months, I think, since the last one. And it's my first time having a guest that I'm probably actually going to put up onto YouTube and Facebook and things like that. Usually I've had guests before, but now I've just got a bunch of video recordings that haven't been cut up yet, so that's kind of sad. But working on doing that, working on getting bigger, and working on taking this thing off and getting it off the ground. So what we wanted to talk about today, though, was so student veterans and what we do, why we do what we do, things to expect as a student veteran, and just things of that nature. So to get started, let's open up the floor for what was it like? So what was your transition coming from the military into being a student? Like, what's the most memorable part about you coming into being a student?
Well, so I when I was in Okinawa, I had about 6 months left in the Marine Corps when I got to Okinawa. So while I was there, I went ahead and I applied to a local community college back from where I'm from in Michigan. I mean, I got approved like immediately. Like it screen popped up, so congratulations, you're in. So I didn't really know what to do with my hands at that point, but I was ready to go. And part of the reason I jumped into it so quick is because I didn't have a job I didn't have a job lined up when I got out. I knew I wanted to go to school, and on the GI Bill, I knew they would pay me BA. So I hurried up and I got in as quick as I could because I needed the money. I know now that so that was a summer semester. I know now that summer semesters are a waste of your GI Bill, but that's neither here nor there. So I went to school for 2 semesters. I did a summer semester and a fall semester in Michigan, and then I moved down to Virginia. My wife got a job because we just couldn't afford to live in Michigan. And then I got down here. I had to wait a year, or at least I thought I had to wait a year to get residency. And turns out I did not actually have to do that. And knowing that now, I would have been done with school a year ago. But here we are. So now I graduated from New River Community College over in Dublin, which was cool because it was with a lot of older people. I was there with a lot of vets. I actually had class with vets, which is very cool. And then I came over here to Radford, and if it wasn't for a class that I was told I had to take, I would never even have known there was a military resource center here. So I'm very thankful for that class that ended up getting canceled 3 days in. But
for sure, yeah. You bring up the military resource center. It's a little known gem for vets on campuses, and when you do know about it, it is a very helpful resource. I mean, they're connected to the community. At least ours is. Back when I got out, I went straight to community college as well. Did that route, went to Virginia Western in Roanoke, which is just up the road from Radford, where we're going now. And I mean, they had a great military resource center. I met a lot of the veterans that I still know today through that resource center, and it helps with networking. It helps you figure out where your community is, who your community is, and things of that nature. So, I mean, military resource centers, they're a gem, and nobody knows about them on a lot of campuses. And
well, at New River, I mean, I took most of my classes at the mall site just because I didn't want to drive to Dublin. It was like a 45-minute drive for no reason. But as far as I know, there was nothing like that. There was the office that had the VA rep, and like that, I guess that was like our safe zone. But other than that, there was nothing really set aside for vets. We just had to kind of make our own space in study rooms or in the library or whatever the case may be.
Right.
And doing it at the mall, a lot of it was just commandeering a bunch of tables and pushing them together in the food court. And I mean, it's a food court, so how much work can you really get done in a food court?
Right. Pretty distracting, I'm sure.
Yeah. So, actually having a space that's carved out, set aside for veterans to be themselves, to be veterans and also be students at the same time, it's nice. It's very nice to have that space.
For sure.
Just because people don't understand. It's like I could go to a study room in the library or something, but if I'm in there and I drop a couple F-bombs right off the bat because I'm not understanding something, people are going to look kind of crazy at me probably. So.
Oh, yeah. Definitely an asset to have. They focus a lot on what veterans need, how veterans act in classes is different than how our peers coming out of high school act in classes, and the way we carry ourselves. I mean, if you look at the graduation rate, we're good students. Veterans are great students. Yeah. I mean, for those who don't drop out for whatever reason may be, because there are plenty of those, but the ones who stick with it and go all the way, they'll take it all the way, and it'll be no problem for them because they've seen adversity, they've faced adversity, they've passed multiple schools before getting to this point. So I mean, it's really a great thing to have veterans on campus, and it's a great thing to implement things like the Military Resource Center and VA reps and things like that at schools to help us out, because I know when I got out, I didn't know a shit shingle about what was going on with school. Like, I was like, how do I sign up for classes? Where do I get my books? How do I know what books I need? I was asking all these questions, and thankfully, a lot of the Military Resource Center, I guess, attendees, people who came into the center were helpful with, like, instruction, what to do. I know when I called, I was still enlisted at the time, and I was up in Fort Drum, New York, and I called and I was like, hey, I want to sign up for community college classes. What do I got to do? And somebody was like, oh, well, you just do this, that, and the third. And that dude ended up being like one of my best friends coming out of the military, because like I got to the school, he was like, oh yeah, I talked to you on the phone. He was a student vet too. He put me onto a lot of this, like, I don't want to say activism, but just being active, like pursuing things for vets, for student vets, and being active in the community and just really getting things going. I mean, that's the whole reason I started this podcast, was to kind of interact with and get the word out to other vets and student vets that, hey, it's good to have a community. That's like one of the biggest things I push is community and how important it is.
Yeah, no, absolutely, for sure. It's having that sense of community is a big part of what I think makes the MRC and like, the Student Veterans of America and all that, it makes those useful, and it makes them successful, because it's, I mean, trying to navigate it by yourself, like I was doing when I was going to school in Lansing, Michigan, I was doing it all alone. Like, I had a couple of veteran friends that I met kind of just by chance, but other than that, I mean, you're alone. And I was fresh out. I got out. I got out of the Marine Corps. I went on terminal leave April 22nd, and I started school in June. So I was right there. I was fresh out, and so I didn't understand how people could be so, I guess, rude to like other humans when they were speaking, and someone, as in my eyes, I was still very military mindset. So a professor was the senior, that was who was in charge of the room, and then just the disrespect from these kids, and I didn't make a whole lot of friends. I would tell people to shut the fuck up, real quick, or I threatened to beat somebody's ass in front of a professor one time, Well,
I think part of that comes with just the discipline that we get. Again, a lot of our peers are coming out of high school and going into college with the same mindset. Like, they haven't had that. They haven't had that quick adjustment. They haven't had that snap to like we had. Because I know if I was, the situational awareness helps too, right? So like, who's in charge of a situation. You go up in the class. Professor's at the front, that's the guy in charge. That's the guy whose attention I need to give all my attention to. That's, or the girl, the guy, girl, they, them, him, her, whatever you want to say. They're the ones that hold the power of the information that I need to get in order to pass this class. So they need all my attention. I don't need to give it to anybody else.
Right.
But then when you try to make a on-the-spot correction, which is a definition, that's like a word that we use in the military. That's like a phrase.
Right.
On-the-spot correction with some of these students, they're almost insulted, and it's confusing because it's like you're bringing up valid points. Like, this is a class, you can participate in discussion, but when there's no discussion going on, sit down, shut up, focus, and do your work.
Yeah, they don't like it when you snap at them and tell them to stand the fuck up if they're falling asleep.
They don't, well, yeah, that one's tough too, though, because they did pay money for this, so if they want to sleep in there, that's fine.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, I'm not trying to sit here and watch you sleep. I'm trying to listen.
Hey, but that's fine too, because you don't have to look at them.
That's true.
Just throw you need to bring a whoopee to class, and then just put a whoopee over them while they're sleeping.
I mean, I've gotten better about it. When I first got out, if I seen a kid falling asleep, I was like, hey, stand the fuck up. They'd be like, what? Nothing, never mind.
It's tough. It's weird because you want to do stuff like that with the situational awareness. You want to just be like, oh man, if I don't wake this guy up, we're all gonna get in trouble. You're not, but
right.
that's the mentality.
You're still in your head. That's like when you're walking through the parking lot and you panic because you realize you don't know where your rifle is.
Right.
Bro, I've been out for 6 months. I don't have a rifle anymore.
Don't get me caught up, bro. Yeah, it's a different world out here. But also, one of the things that surprised me though is fiscally how difficult it is to get out of the military and realize, like, oh shit, I have to cover my ass with everything.
Yeah.
Because I got out, and when I was first out, I was like, I'm going to hold off on my GI Bill. Okay. Got the Pell Grant, which is the little, I don't know what is it. It's not a scholarship, it's a grant, but it's like you get money basically for school. Well, the Pell Grant paid for both of my semesters of community college in the first year. Because it breaks down, it cuts in half, and you get half on this semester, half on the next. Well, turns out that half was literally what it cost for me to go to school. So boom, drop that for school, no problems, right? Big problems. No job, blowing through my deployment money day by day,
right.
Going out drinking, going out partying, having a good time because I got out and I think I can do that. Then I look at my bank account, and boy, was I wrong.
Right.
I was so wrong, and then that hit me, and it was a rude awakening. But I'm glad it happened because I needed it. But I mean, shit was hard, man. Like, you look at your bank account and you say, "Wow, you're a fucking idiot."
Right. Yeah.
It hits you.
I totally understand. Like that's why I said, like, when I got out, I was like, I need to start going to school because I need money coming in, and I didn't even. I found a couple jobs when I was there in Michigan, but I was working, they were under the table jobs. It was physical labor. I was doing landscaping, or I was building pools, or whatever it was. And it was paying bills, but just barely. You know what I mean? Like, I really needed that GI Bill money to live on. And it just was so expensive up there. That's why we had to move down here, man. The cost of living down here is so much cheaper than it is in Michigan.
Warmer too.
Yeah, a lot warmer. I left in December, like middle of December, like right before Christmas, and it had been in the low 20s pretty much since the end of November in Michigan, and hadn't really snowed super hard, thankfully, but by the time we got down to Virginia, I mean, that Christmas, I'm pretty sure the day after, it was like 65 degrees outside. We were outside doing yard work, so yeah, it's definitely a lot nicer down here as far as weather's concerned.
Hell yeah.
Oh shit, that's hot.
So since everybody's just going to be listening to this one today, we're not doing any video for this one. This is going to be my first audio only podcast, but we are drinking coffee. We are chilling in the Military Resource Center at Radford University. But I think one of the physical things that surprised me the most was even when I did get the GI Bill, and even when I did get settled back in after all the irresponsible spending and things I was doing, the summer and winter breaks,
bro,
they come out of nowhere. So for those of you interested in going to school, be prepared for the winter and summer breaks, because those are periods where you won't get GI Bill. The only support you'll have is whatever job you've picked up or any disability you may have claimed and gotten approved. So
now I will caveat off of that. There is the opportunity you can
take. I'll caveat off that.
Now you You can take summer classes and like winter classes, especially here at Radford. But I would highly suggest not doing it because it's a waste of your GI Bill, because your GI Bill is based on months. So if you go to school for like a summer semester and it's 2 months long, that's 2 months off your GI Bill that you're not being able to utilize it fully. So you're a full course load over a summer is like 6 credits versus 12 credits or higher during a regular course load. So you can continue to go to school and you can continue to take in your GI Bill, but you're really wasting it. It's almost like a waste. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of money. So I would highly caution against it. Again, I had to do it when I first got out because I didn't have any money coming in. But I realize now at the end of the day, that was 2 months that I could have used on the back end when I really needed it, versus wasting my time on a degree plan I didn't even end up pursuing.
Right, and these aren't. We're not telling you these things. We're advising, because this is all just from personal experience and from what we've gathered. You make your own path. You make your own way, but the whole point of this community is to work together and try to figure out the best practices. And so, yeah, definitely look to getting as much assistance as you can. It doesn't hurt to get assistance. It actually it shows that you want to progress, that you want to build, that you want to get better, you want to grow. So definitely look for all the help you can when you get out. It's not an easy route, but it's doable for sure. For sure.
Yeah, and don't be ashamed of joining the different organizations, the VFW, the American Legion, DAV, PVA, all those different acronyms. You know, the alphabet boys of the veteran community. Don't feel ashamed about joining those groups, because they're there to help. That's what they're for. And if they can't help themselves, they can point you in the right direction for sure. So definitely don't. Wow, that's a heinous looking woman.
So we're watching the news while we're on here, and so Capital One was hacked, and they found the hacker, and she looks rough. Seattle, Washington, ex-tech worker. Oh boy.
Yeah, she was rough looking.
She was looking like she's hurting. No wonder she hacked the... Oh, you talking about his cold sore?
Yep, sure am.
Oh my gosh, Robert Gray. This dude's been getting a little frisky. So, I think we've spent enough time talking about student veterans and being on campus and things like that. But I think another thing that needs to be addressed, at least in our community, is... So, you told me you wanted to talk about this yesterday, which is hilarious. The bro vet.
Okay.
So, I think it'd be good to break down what it means to be a bro vet.
Okay.
I think it'd be good for us to break that down. So, where should we start though? What's a bro vet really?
Okay, so to me, remember when you first got out of like your schoolhouses and everyone was wearing all that supermoto, super hua stuff?
Like your
American flag backpacks and sunglasses, and
people would get the basic training T-shirt with everybody's name on the back.
Yeah, stuff
and
like that.
It would always be like you personalized it, but it was like a generic image that they'd already had a template for.
Yeah,
it was just telling you to pick which generic template you
wanted.
Right.
So that style of clothing and wear, and just how you were all supermoto and you had your hair cut all high and tight, and right. So that's the definition of a boot. But a lot of times the bro vet continues doing that after service, and it's the odd part is what I've noticed is that generally the more bro vet somebody is, the more of a shitbag they were during their actual service. They're like, man, I can't wait to get out of here. Like, fuck this organization. Like, I'm not doing this no more. And then they get out and they're all supermoto and they're like, thank me for my service. Like, putting American flags and everything and making a big deal about their service, when the 18-year-old at the gas station does not care.
Right. Right. So I think a lot of it has to do with a mixture of behavior and apparel.
Yes.
And I mean, really, just those two things. Like you make yourself visibly bro vetish, where you're wearing nothing against brands like Run Style or anything, but you're always wearing brands like Run Style.
That's your whole wardrobe.
It becomes you.
Yeah.
It's too much. Like, I have probably 5 or 6 shirts that are military oriented. Some of them are for causes like the 22 movement, which I think is very near and dear to my heart. Like, I do a ruck march myself here or in Southwest Virginia. So, I mean, it's an important thing to me. That being said, I'm not going to let it control my wardrobe. I'm not going to wrap my life around it.
Right.
I'm going to work towards a goal of fixing a problem, but I'm not going to rock a grunt style 22 kill shirt all the time.
Mind you, so with that, there's nothing wrong with being proud of the community that you're a part of and the things that you've done.
For sure.
But at the same time, you kind of get that dysfunctional veteran. I don't remember if you remember that group on Facebook, but
they even started their own clothing brand.
Yeah, you get that dysfunctional veteran vibe where you're really driving a wedge between you and everyone else.
Right.
Because you were in the military, but you are no longer. Mm-hmm. Like, it's a part of who you are, but it's not who you are anymore.
Yeah.
And so if you keep wearing this type of clothing and adopt this attitude of like, I'm a veteran, you become less human, I guess. And you're driving that wedge. Like, I remember the dysfunctional veterans had this shirt that says, dysfunctional veteran, leave me alone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is that really the image that you want to portray to the world, that you can't function in society?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's a huge part of being a bro vet, is that your whole life is based on who you used to be, and not who you are currently.
No forward momentum, just what you brought to the table.
Yeah, it's like somebody who peaks in high school and never leaves their hometown. Like, that's what a bro vet is to me. They peaked in the military and they never grew out of it.
Yeah. It's weird having the dysfunctional veteran group at where it got to the point where it became more of an idea of what it was like to be a veteran after service. Mm. Because I remember when I was still in, I'd look at the page and I'd be like, oh man, being a civilian, wow, that's crazy. Like, it must suck. Like, I'm gonna go try it out though. Well, it doesn't suck that much. The only thing that sucks is trying to get everybody on the same page together. Yeah. And it's gonna be hard, but it's doable. And to say that, yeah, I'm dysfunctional, I don't fit in, all that stuff, it's counterproductive. Of course you're not gonna fit in with that idea, with that attitude.
Exactly, yeah.
You don't understand, you're a sheep and I'm the sheepdog. Yeah. You remember those? Those were always the big things. I'm not saying that as veterans we shouldn't be leaders. I'm saying that as veterans we shouldn't be so afraid to step out of our comfort zone. Yes, PTSD, anxiety, depression, all those things are real, and they do keep you down.
But they don't have to control you.
They don't have to control you. Nothing has to control you. You're a veteran from military service. You've seen struggles. You know struggles. If you can get past those, you can get past this whole idea that you are somehow above, below, whatever the civilian population.
Right. Now, you bring it up with the PTSD thing, too. This is something else that I think is important to note in regards to bro vets. There's like, I guess, like I would call it like a subsect of bro vets that are combat veterans. Because for whatever reason, I've noticed that most bro vets are not combat veterans, but there is like a certain group of combat veterans that think that because they went to combat, they are better than other veterans. There's that. And they also are the same types that will walk around and tell people that you can't have PTSD if you've never been to combat. And that's literally, it's not combat traumatic stress disorder. Yeah. It's traumatic stress disorder. It's something nasty happened to you. If you saw someone die in a car accident or something like that. So just because someone doesn't have the same experience as you, it does not mean that they are less than, that their experience is less than yours. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that we need to definitely highlight as part of the community, especially for anybody who might be listening to this who's about to get out. Don't be that person, because you're not making any friends. You're not making yourself approachable, and at the end of the day, it's like a sad existence, and you don't want to be that person.
No, not at all. And I've gone into the social work and psychology aspect of school, and a lot of my focus has been on things like PTSD, mm-hmm. and it's grown my understanding. Like, I didn't think before that it was just for vets, but I did primarily focus on the veteran portion.
Right, so and rightly so, because it's
getting shot at, things like that.
You're part of that community, so you're going to focus on your community's issues. I understand that entirely. Absolutely. But you also understand that it's not just a veteran thing. It's not.
A car accident is just as scarring and jarring if you lose somebody in that accident as it would be to lose somebody, let's say, in a training accident.
Yeah. I lost my 3 guys we lost in Cuba. Mm-hmm. They all died on. It was a Liberty incident. It wasn't. We weren't in combat, and it messed me up, dude. Like, I'm better now because it's been almost 10 years, but it really messed me up. For a long time, and because I didn't go to combat, I had a corporal at the time. I think he got out as a sergeant, but that's neither here nor there. He, at the time, because it wasn't combat related, like he just treated me like I was a shitbag. Mm. Like they were part of his squad, so I don't understand. How it didn't affect him. I guess because he didn't see it. I also found out later that he was a fobbit and didn't have any room to be talking shit. But
I was gonna say a lot of people just adjust this stuff differently too. Some people kind of get into that denial portion to kind of get past the feelings because they don't want to feel it, they don't want to work with it. Right. Which is understandable. Everybody's got their own adjustments, but what kills me is that people have this whole suck it up and drive on mentality when there's no focus on mental health anymore. No, none. Like nobody cares about your mental health. Work doesn't offer a mental health day. I mean, shit, people barely get maternity leave anymore. Yeah. Like, it's a huge issue.
They're really, I mean, especially in the military, there's no focus on mental health when you're in.
Yeah. Well, they do I know when I was in the Army, they did the resiliency training.
We did not have that.
Okay. So, at least in the Army, they're doing resiliency training. Mm-hmm. But outside of that, it's like a 3-day course. You actually go there instead of doing your regular workday stuff. Right. You'll go there with, like, a handful of other people who needed the training, knock it out, and then you'll go back to work. And there's no implementation in the unit. Like the unit doesn't go, what did you learn today? How can we better the unit? Right. It's always just, did you get this check in that box? Right. All right, you're good to go.
That's really what mental health is in the military, like especially in the Marine Corps. Like so when I lost my guys, at the time I was a Protestant. I'm Orthodox now. I don't know if that matters, but so I was a Protestant, and they brought me a Catholic chaplain, which. Okay, I appreciate that, but when I asked to speak to somebody, I didn't mean that. And then old boy asked me if I was mad at the ocean, and I was like, you know what, sir, I think we're done here. Mad at the ocean. Like, that was the mental health that I received. The mental health, assistance that I received after I watched my fire team die. Was somebody asked me if I was mad at the ocean. And it was literally so they could check in the box, hey, he talked to somebody. And then they just put me right back on post, like it never happened.
Of course.
And... that was rough. I was 19. I didn't know what to expect. It was supposed to be a safe deployment, but it wasn't. And so my mental health checking the box was, we sent the chaplain over to talk to him, so he's good to go. And it was a couple of years before I actually went and talked to somebody. And I had to do that on my own.
Oh, yeah.
And then they tried to tell me I had a problem with drinking, which I did, but I was in denial about it. I was like, no, I pretty much got it figured out. I think I'm all right. Right. And they wanted me to go to rehab, but they didn't order it, so nobody made me go. Mm-hmm. And I had to kind of overcome that on my own. But I did, so we're good. We're past that part. But mental health, a lot of the time, for my experiences, you're on your own. Yeah. Like, if you want to get help, you have to get it, and just asking your command is not going to be enough. Like, because they don't care. It's a numbers game at the end of the day. They just want results.
I think one of the bigger things that the military does need to address, especially with people transitioning out, and the VA could help out with this too, is the transitioning system is flawed, because you'll get people who get out and they're the guys who would drink every weekend after COB. They're already popping one open. They've got a 24 Raxin in their room. People who are straight up addicted in order to fill in these holes that they have in their heart over mental health, over buddies they've lost, and addiction is a serious problem, especially for veterans, because we're susceptible to that kind of stuff. We need that routine. It's like the pattern. You have to keep the pattern going. I know that this isn't healthy, but it's what I know. It's what I'm used to. It's what I'm familiar with. It's how I cope. Yeah. And I've seen tons of alcoholics get out, and I've seen a lot of them reform. I had a buddy who, when I knew him, he was an alcoholic, hard alcoholic. And from what I hear recently, like, he's put it down for quite a while now. He's doing really well. But even so, like, how much damage has already been done? Right. How much how much trauma has his body faced, and I hope for the best for my guy, because that's my boy. Like we deployed together. He's got a big old heart. That's my boy. Hammer was his nickname. People know who I'm talking about. I don't want to name him by name, just out of respect.
Right.
I mean, that's one of my guys. Like I'm glad to hear they stopped drinking, but at this point, it's the bounce back. It's the recovery. It's what you do now after that,
right?
To make sure that when you go to do something at a hospital, you don't get some information you didn't want.
Right.
Like, hey man, we're glad you came in for this ankle that hurt, but we got some bad news. Your liver's failing. You know,
right.
That's the stuff you're trying to avoid. And so I think the military needs to get better with the transition and helping to stop this whole idea that, you know, I gotta keep drinking because it's what I used to do to cope, and it's the only coping mechanism I know. Because I know a lot of people don't go to the VA. They don't trust the VA. The VA is hard to work with, and I don't blame them. The VA hasn't really proved itself too often. That being said, there are good VAs. There are great doctors. But all in all, I mean, look at how many people have committed suicide in the VA parking lot.
Yeah, in recent years, that's like a new phenomenon. That
doesn't sound like a productive business. That sounds like there's a problem, an underlying problem, wherever it might be, in the mental health field, if I had to take a guess.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I want to point out, too, is that it's not the issue with the VA, at least in my opinion, it's not the doctors. The doctors care. The doctors give a shit, but their hands are tied. Because it's of bureaucratic bullshit. It comes down to where it comes down from the top. So they're doing what they can, and like my doctor is, I won't say her name, but she's kind of like she's rude, but at the same time, like, she cares. Like, that's just her demeanor. She's like a rude person, a lot ruder than you'd expect your doctor to be. But she also, like, if you need something, she'll make sure it happens.
So when you say rude, do you mean like her approach?
She just seems like she doesn't have time for you. But at the end of the day, I mean, if you look at the VA waiting rooms, they don't have time for anybody. So it's not just you. I mean, they really are. They're seeing one patient after another, after another, after another. It's not like they can really focus on you a whole lot. And that's part of the system. It's not the doctor's fault. I'm sure they would love to take more time to talk to you, but hey, I got 6 dudes still in the waiting room, so let's keep it moving.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that was a good little transition into that discussion about mental health coming from the bro vets. I will say though, I like a lot of the businesses you see coming from vets, right? So guys will get out.
You talking about t-shirt companies? Because I think that crosses over into bro vet territory too.
So even though they are considered bro vet, they did start the trend. So talking about grunt style, Article 15.
Yeah, Art 15. Yeah.
Who else is there? Grunt style, Article 15, and I mean there's others out there.
Yeah.
But those are, like, you know, some of the front runners, and with them being front runners, they're starting the trend. They're starting the popularity behind, hey, we're vets, veteran-owned business. People love that sound. They're like, oh, you did service. Thank you so much.
Right.
And I don't have a problem with that. I think that's great. But it's when you get the repetition, like we were talking about, where there's 14,000 different veteran-owned T-shirt companies or people trying to start one up. It's admirable. That's fine. But the market's saturated. So you need to try to move on to something else.
Right.
I mean, it's hard for me to even want to do this podcast because I know there's plenty of veteran podcasts out there.
Right.
I don't know how many student veteran podcasts there are. I'd much rather, you know, I guess find that niche where I'm talking about student veterans and maybe do a focus on that compared to talking about vet stuff all in all. But you don't want to have too exact of a market. Like, you want to be open for everybody.
Right, yeah.
And so I plan on having multiple people on my podcast, specifically veterans, but I will also take other people because I have a buddy from Puerto Rico. He wants to talk about the current climate in Puerto Rico with the government issues. I don't know if you've heard, but the dude that runs Puerto Rico, is it a governor? I'm not too...
I think it's technically a governor.
So, yeah, the governor of Puerto Rico, or the dude running the show there, and forgive me, bud, if you're listening to this. It's my buddy Noel. But he's given me the information, and he said that this guy had a whole group chat going with a lot of the other leadership in Puerto Rico. Mm-hmm. They were saying some slanderous shit, boy. They were talking about some secretary boobies and all sorts of stuff they weren't supposed to be talking about.
Yeah.
And so all this breakdown and that stuff, I mean, you can have a conversation about that, and you can turn people's eyes to that issue, even if it's not your community. Like the veteran community, I'm sure would love to hear that. There's people fighting for their rights in Puerto Rico to petition and to protest this, because this is a big deal. Like you can't just have a group chat out there and get I mean, granted, it was a private group chat. It's still messy because they were sharing sensitive information on there. They are professionals, and professionals shouldn't talk in certain ways.
Yeah, I mean, and if you're in the public eye, nothing is really private.
Nothing's private, not at all. I mean, I have my own opinions on that, privacy and secrecy and stuff like that, but I digress. Anyways, I think it's important to have a market that's open for everybody. And so with these vet t-shirt companies and these vet, I like the Vet TV group. Have you seen Vet TV stuff?
I've seen some of their videos.
It's kind of bro-vet, but I'll give it to them that they're trying to bring the community together. Or they are. They're successfully doing it. But they're bringing the community together to laugh at stuff that we actually think is funny.
Right, and the guy who is really behind it, Donnie O'Malley, he's real big on the Silky's hikes and the memorial hikes and stuff. So
yeah.
I mean, he really is trying to build a community. That's what it's for. But I do think it does tiptoe into bro-vet territory a little bit, because it's very look at me, and it glorifies a lot of the nastier parts of being in the military. Yeah. Which, I mean, at the end of the day, I think is hilarious, but the regular civilian, my wife wouldn't think it was funny. She wouldn't get it.
Yeah, so. You can't show this to people. They would get upset and be asking for it to get shut down.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I enjoy some of it, absolutely. I talked to one of the actresses that works on the show occasionally, and I mean, just bullshit chatting on Instagram. Right. But, like, she's super cute. Oh, my gosh. I don't know how Donnie O'Malley got these cute girls to work on this show, but...
Because he's Donnie fucking O'Malley.
He's Donnie fucking O'Malley. But, this Vet TV idea has taken off, and, I mean, it's really flying. It's like a $5 subscription, and you get all their little shows and stuff. Right. I follow them on Instagram. I'd like to buy a subscription at some point. Donnie, if you're checking this out, hey man, I'm broke, but I'm gonna get there. Shit, yeah. I'm gonna get there.
You wanna make that shit free $99? I'm all over it, dude.
Let me know if you want to start a podcast channel. I'm down with that. You know, your boy will be on a podcast channel. But I mean, I think it's great. I think it's something that's been, you know, in the works for a while, because he was that dude who had the video where he's got the fat dip in. He's the Marine Corps lieutenant. Yeah. And she's like, how much money would it take for you to suck somebody's dick? And he had to sit there, and he said like 12,000 something, and she was like, why that number? He was like, because that's exactly how much it would cost for me to pay my truck off. And I was like, that's probably the realest thing I've ever heard, because I feel that on another level. Yeah, I would pay my vehicle off.
Yeah. The smoke pit style conversations, man.
Exactly, the smoke pit style stuff. And that's really what a lot of people are taking off of this podcast platform stuff too, is the smoke pit talk. And I mean, I'd love to do it. I just think that it comes with building your resume of podcasts first. Right, yeah. You don't want to just jump in and be like, fuck, shit, boobies, dick. And everybody's like, whoa, okay, hold on, slow down. You actually have to have some sustenance in there, right, yeah, for the most part. I would love to have some smoke pit talks, though. I've honestly considered just sitting on a back porch with the mic out and literal cigarettes and beers, right, and just having a smoke pit style discussion for a podcast, God, which we could definitely do. I mean, you've got some property. Yeah. We could come over to your house and a few of us. I'd like to have Colin on with us again too. Colin's really good. He's one of our vets here at Radford.
He's a fucking pogue, though.
He's a pogue. Timestamp that at 39:25. We called him a pogue, so you can go back and listen to that.
I guess it's a good thing Jake sat at the desk.
Jake sat at the desk for the right reasons. But yeah, man, I like these businesses. I just want to see them. I want to see them take off. I want to see them be successful.
Yeah. Speaking of businesses, though, and as far as veteran-owned stuff, now I don't know if this is something that you're real familiar with or aware of, but I got into a period there where I was really wanting to start like a small farm. My wife is not about it, but the VA actually has it's like a vets to farmers program.
Wow.
And they'll give you like a really low interest loan to start a farm, and there's grants and stuff that are available to get into agriculture. They really want veterans to get into agriculture because it's
a discipline.
Well, there's one it requires discipline, and then two, the current farmers that we have, they're aging out, and so we need another. The whole push is that we need another group of people who are going to take this shit serious and help provide food for the country. And so there's loans to start small farms, to start doing agriculture. So if you want to start a goat farm or get however many head of cattle, like there's programs available for you. You just got to Google it. It's there. But so that's something that I did look into. My wife shot it down real quick, mostly because we live in town and she's not trying to have goats running around by the pool. But I get that. But yeah, no, that's something that's available, and I think that anybody listening to this could really take advantage of it.
Absolutely. Between that and the and even the housing stuff, you gotta get going.
No, my Fitbit is telling me to get up and start moving.
Oh, okay. Stop jabber-jawing.
I mean, I gotta leave in about 10 minutes, but
I feel you. The VA offers a lot of stuff that people don't know about, and I'm not gonna blame the VA for not putting it out there, but I'm also not gonna say that they're doing the right thing, because a lot of it's super quiet. Like what is it? You get a housing loan.
So I actually use the VA loan, and the way that works is you work through the VA, and they basically try to find. You get it's not, the loan itself isn't through the VA. You go through another bank that offers the VA loan, and you just get a better rate. You get a lower interest rate. You get better. It just works out a little bit better. So I'm on that. The VA also has small business loans. If you have a small business idea that is not a t-shirt company, you don't need another one of those.
We're good. Gun Style's already capitalized the market.
Yeah. So we don't need another one of those. But if you have an idea for a small business that you think would be profitable, there are small business loans available through the VA that actually have pretty low interest rates too. So that's something else I've looked into, because I used to want to open a bar too. I mean, I still want to open a bar, but that's. The restaurant business is scary because your money is dependent on everybody else's money.
Right.
So if we're in a recession, you're going to go out of business.
Right. It's a tough call in a business like that for sure.
But yeah, these things are available. You just have to look for them. That's the thing, is you got to look for them.
Absolutely. Well, you got to roll out here in a minute, so we'll go ahead and wrap things up. Is there anything you want to leave the audience with before you take off, or any subject you want to bring up before you take off out of here?
Nothing that I can think of off the bat. I mean, if you guys have any questions for me as far as transitioning or anything like that, you can email me jmartinez31@radford.edu. I'll answer as many as I can, if there is any. But if you have questions about utilizing benefits, going to the VA, trying to find different articles or links or anything like that, hit us up. If you're interested in Radford University, go ahead and email us at military@radford.edu, and somebody will get in touch with you about your benefits that you have available through the school. Yeah, and I should be able to put most of that in the show notes. Yeah, in the info. So if I need to, I'll hit you up, get all that, get your email back and everything. But I think I have it anyway, so it shouldn't be a problem. But so that wraps things up here at the Wolfcat Fire for Effect podcast. I thank you, Juan, for coming on and getting my third episode in. Gonna have to do some patchwork here and there, just so it's not a blank screen with us talking. I got to figure out if I'm gonna do pictures of us and you together doing the and now we have a protest going on at Jamestown's 400th commemoration Trump speech. So somebody is not liking deport, hate, reunite my family. Well, that's a good little stand up. Good for him. He's using his rights. Look at Trump's face, though. Dang. Not amused. Not amused. Right. Well, that's one thing that'll happen. All right, we're going to wrap things up. Everybody have a wonderful day. Fire for effect. Be easy. And thanks for listening. See ya.